Okay, and here we go. Our A-line fringe. Separate the back into symmetrical portions. And I'll start off by combing out 2 A-line sections. Now, since my technical shape will be A-line, my sections will also be A-line. I always prefer cutting with sections that match the shape that I'm actually creating. So begin by combing out your guideline, elevate the hair slightly, check for balance, take your next diagonal A-line section. Now with the second section, you will be elevating the hair slightly higher than the first section. So comb the hair straight out, straight back, increase your elevation, and follow your guideline. Comb the hair clean from roots to your guide. And it's good advice for you to make sure that when you're cutting this A-line shape, as you comb the hair, always keep your comb in the same A-line that you intend to cut. So here again, our second section is elevated higher than the first. Check for balance. Cutting symmetrical is very challenging, so every opportunity you have to check for symmetry and balance between your fingers, don't miss out on those great opportunities. Okay, so the third section again is elevated higher than the second. We're cutting an A-line that goes from short to long. And here I'm standing right at the occipital bone because with this technique I'll begin to over direct the corners, the lengths by the ear quite strongly. Okay, for the opposite side again, increase the elevation. Angle your fingers and elbows to follow an A-line shape. Now again, I'm still standing behind my section, so this way I'm going to start building some strong over direction, and which will allow me for a stronger A-line shape as my hair naturally falls, and it'll encourage the front area where I can cut a magnificent A-line shape. Now the amount of A-line also there's some determining factors. One of them is a neck. A short neck, you really can't go in 2 A-line. The longer the neck, the more working area that we have. Boy, my model, short neck is quite nice, so I don't have any problems with that this time. So our fourth section, I'm elevating higher than the third section. Elbows, fingers, scissors, sections, all parallel. Now here's a challenging part because I'm playing with over direction. So I really have to be attuned to every acute detail, especially at the very end of that section. Because again, I'm altering my shape through over direction. And I have to get a good feel for the right side because I have to match up the left side next. So again, matching up with the guideline through the opposite side. So notice my amount of elevation compared to the very first section. So this technique can be executed in many ways. You can go for low graduation or super high graduation. I want to keep everything ideally below 90, so we're still working with acute angles. Check for balance. Okay, so now we're coming out our next consecutive section. Increasing our elevation even more. Fingers, elbows, scissors, all parallel. And notice the next portion of this section of what I mean by how I'm building intense A-line via over direction. But it's nice to cut this way, but it's also challenging because I also have to match that exact same angle and point of elevation through the opposite side. So again, increasing our elevation. And here my over direction comes into play. So like the first portion of the section, there's no real over direction. As I work towards the ear, then that over direction kicks in big time. And again, be aware Be super conscious of the angle that you're cutting, the amount of over direction, and your elevation. And always check for symmetry and balance. So now my sections begin to roll into the side areas. Now I'm working off the same height of elevation. So notice the angle of my comb and fingers. I'm elevating quite high. I'm continuing the exact same line. And the section that reaches the hairline, again, I'm working in the shape through super strong over direction. If you see that as you're over directing the hair that you comb has gaps or it isn't perfectly straight, take your time, go back and do it proper, because if your first section has an error, that error will grow every section after. It'll become more and more challenging to nail this haircut. So again, increasing over direction. Now with this amount of elevation through the side areas will fall very soft. So now as I start to work through the side areas, I pivot my body position slightly. So as I work into the sides, I'm standing just slightly behind that left shoulder. And again, checking in our shape. Making sure that our elevation is super beyond super consistent. Because once you get the elevation down, then the hard part comes in. Well, not hard part, it's a bit more challenging to nail that over direction. And to control the hair from your fingers as you stroke it out from, say, like the hairline all the way back towards like parallel to the occipital bone, that's a bit challenging. And I said challenging, not impossible. It's just have a heightened awareness for where your challenges will be, and you can execute the haircut even that much better. Okay, still working in our shape. Now I'll do the exact same technique on the opposite side. So again, working with A-line sections. And notice my body position now has changed. I'm standing slightly behind that right shoulder. And throughout the entire side, I'll be standing at that point. So even though I can line up my fingers and pivot my body so I can cut it better, but where I combed where I align my guideline at that point of elevation and over direction doesn't change. Okay, so take your next A-line section. Again, it'll be over directed back and elevated. Remember to ensure that your elbows, fingers, scissors, they all mimic the shape you intend to cut. So again, building up this really strong over direction. I find it easier, it flows smoother to work with strong A-line over direction on the right side. The left side is a bit more challenging, so that's why I cut the left side first. I'd always rather cut the more difficult and then do the easy. But it can be done either way. So again, increasing elevation. But I'm increasing my elevation, but my over direction is the same. So I'll be over directing to the same spot, but just lifting the hair slightly higher with each progressive section. And this haircut works very well with multiple lengths. Like I've done this haircut where when the hair falls, it's about 2 feet long. It looks really nice. Or I've done this haircut like way shorter, and it'll kind of look like a super texturized out graduated bob. So there's a lot of creative adaptations to the exact same technique. One way to get a different look with the exact same technique is just change up the lengths. Okay, again, increasing elevation, but my over direction is at the same point. So I have a landmark. So I lined it up to like parallel to her shoulder in the back. So that's where I'm combing the hair to. It's nice to work with landmarks so you have a quick eye reference for your fingers to line up your section with, and you have more positive encouragement throughout the cut. Okay, so swiveling the chair over, still cutting on guide. Just barely any hair that reaches this guideline, but I'll still check it in anyhow. Next section again, I'll be creasing my elevation. Over direction is at the same point, and it looks like there's not really anything that's checking in. So after the blow dry, for the finish, I went in with the best brush, and I just blew it out really super smooth without too much root lift and just a little bevel to the end. So here I'm just going through and I'll refine my shape and texturize it. I just want my shape to fall a little bit softer because again, I'm working here with super beyond super thick hair. Since with my texturizing, I'm going for a softer effect. So as I texturize the hair, I'm texturizing the hair at an elevated level. So as I texture, it'll encourage the hair to fall much softer when I lift it up high. If I were to texture and I wanted a heavier effect, then I'll elevate the hair lower as I texturize it. So just working in shadows, if I see bulkiness and heaviness, I'll just balance that area out. When I'm texturizing, it doesn't mean I necessarily have to hit everything in that exact section. So now we'll jump into the fringe. I'm going quite short. I just wanted to go as short as I humanly possibly can. So I'll work little by little, and then you have to be super aware of any jumpy cowlicks. So now again, I'll take down the next section. I'm just cutting in a clean line. I just like inch my way, millimeter my way. It's kind of like pickpocketing. You have to be very cautious at this point because if you go too short on the fringe, and she has some cowlicks, those cowlicks will make that length just pop up. So it's better to go longer than short, and you can always work it shorter. Again, standing in front of what I'm cutting, and when I do detail work, I only use the tips of my shears. Weight, and here I'll just go and I'll tip into the ends. I'm just removing weight, just chipping, removing weight, okay, finding a nice balance. Okay, and then we have it, our A-line fringe. Enjoy.